Good evening. Welcome to Norfolk City Council meeting, May 19th, 2025. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and inform the public about the location of the Opens Meeting Act posted in the northwest corner of the council chambers and accessible to members of the public. At this time, we'd like to take a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Greenquist.
Here.
Arns.
Here.
Webb. Here. McCarthy.
Here.
Beckman.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Langy.
Here.
Hildebrand.
Here.
Mayor.
Here. First thing would be to approve the consent agenda, moving item number 9 and item number 11 to the regular agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second, please vote. Now I need a motion to approve the, what? Oh, I'm sorry, getting ahead of the game here.
All council members present voting in the affirmative. Motion carries.
Okay. Now I need a motion to approve the full agenda with 9 and 11 moved to that.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion and second, please vote. All right.
All council members present voting in the affirmative. Motion carries.
Jeez, I gotta slow down. I'm getting ahead of our computer system here. All right, we have got a couple of items here on our special presentations. We'll start with the first proclamation, National Public Works Week proclamation. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and the services that are of vital importance to sustain and resilient community and to the public health, high quality of life, and the well-being of the people of the city of Norfolk. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and service could not be provided without the dedication efforts of public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public's interest for the citizens, civil leaders, and the children of the city of Norfolk to gain knowledge of and maintaining an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, be it now resolved that I, Shane Clausen, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, along with Norfolk City Council, do hereby designate the week of May 18th through 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week, and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public work professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protect our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. That was a mouthful. Where are we at? Who's coming to get this one? Anybody here to receive this? I think we got a few of you here. Who gets to put this on the wall?
I got it.
Well, the next one's very fitting after that award for engineers, because these guys are extremely smart individuals and probably will get into that field someday. So,
Shane, before you get there, I'd just like to make a comment. I think this week is a good time to thank our Public Works Department for all they do. They do a nice job, and I don't think they probably get the recognition they deserve. So I think this is a pretty nice little honor.
well said. Anything else? Okay. Next item on our special presentations, it's the recognition of the Norfolk Area Rebel Robotics Team. Whereas the Rebel Robotics Team has demonstrated extraordinary dedication, innovation, and teamwork through their participation in the 2025 First Tech Challenge, and whereas the team earned first place in the Inspire Award category at the World Championships in Houston, Texas, an accolade that placed them first out of the more than 8,500 teams worldwide. And whereas the Inspire Award is the highest honor in the First Tech Challenge, recognizing a team that excels across all areas of competition, including robotic performance, engineering design, community engagement, and gracious professionalism, and amplifies the values and missions of FIRST. And whereas the Rebel Robotics Team outstanding performance and commitment to STEM Excel has earned them a place in the FTC Hall of Fame, a distinction reserved for teams that leave a lasting legacy. And whereas their efforts have not only brought national recognition to their school and community, but have also inspired the next generation of engineers, innovators, and leaders through outreach, mentorship, and unwavering team spirit. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Shane Clausen, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, along with the City Council, do hereby recognize and commend the Rebel Robotics Team for their outstanding accomplishments. All right, I see we've got some people here today, so. Yeah, have the mic.
Sure. Another picture?
Oh, sorry. For the paper. Do we all smile on that one? It was quick. The mic's on for you, so.
Cool. Council, Mayor Clausen, my name is Emmett Hake and I'm the captain of the Rebel Robotics Team. And on behalf of these two incredibly talented students and everybody on our team who's unable to make it to the meeting today, I'd really like to thank you for giving us recognition for all the work that we've done over the last 4 years. We put in tens of thousands of hours into designing robots, programming them, and competing to the best of our ability. And it's been an absolutely incredible thing to be able to do this. Last month at the first championship in Houston, Texas, as you said, our team was privileged to win the first place Inspire Award, making us seasoned champions out of over 9,000 varsity high school teams in the world, which was an absolutely incredible experience and something that we're super proud of. And we're very excited that a small town team from Norfolk, Nebraska was able to go there and beat some of these gigantic teams from 6A schools in California and Texas. It really was an absolutely incredible experience. Along the way, our team has been able to start and mentor a ton of robotics teams, especially in the Norfolk area. And we're super excited to see a lot of these programs that we've started and have been putting a lot of work into mentoring. They're really starting to grow. And it's an absolutely incredible thing to see. One thing that I'd like to say, and on behalf of the team as well, we'd like to thank you for all the hard work that you guys have done over the last couple of years to make Norfolk an absolutely incredible place to live. All the stuff that you've done for the parks, I think the parks especially, but you guys have done a lot of amazing things to make our city a more beautiful and a more vibrant place to live, and we seriously appreciate it. These investments are incredibly important and I've seen firsthand how they seriously influence kids like me to want to go to college and then come back here to live. They make a huge difference, so we'd like to encourage you to continue these investments. They make a big difference. One thing I'd like to say is if any of you are interested in doing any sort of work to help promote youth robotics or start more programs, reach out to me. I'd love to help you guys, and thank you guys for your time.
Excuse me. Why don't you introduce the other two of your teammates that were up here with
Do
you?
you guys just want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah,
That'd
sure.
probably be better.
Yeah, so I'm Nicholas Miller. I'm a junior on the team. Finished up my junior year.
I'm Zachary Fecky, and I'm also a junior on the team.
Okay. How many are on your team?
Yeah, so we have 8 this year, and it's really cool because not all of them are even from Norfolk anymore. We've kind of expanded to some other communities. So we have kids from Wayne, we have kids from Columbus, kind of all around being able to collaborate and do this awesome thing.
So can you name the other 5 that are not here tonight?
Yes, so Braden Jensen's not here. Zachary Fecking, or not Zachary Fecking, Zachary's right here. Sorry, Zach. And then we have 2 kids from Columbus, Noah Edwards, and then Caleb Kitt. They were unable to make it today. And then as well as Josie Vilkas, she is from Wayne. So it's absolutely incredible group of kids.
Yes.
And we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish.
We're very proud of you.
Thank you,
Yes.
guys.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, could you give me your a number that I've got like 3 different youth groups that would love to have someone who knows something about robotics that I don't, and I try to work with them, and I'm not the guy.
Yeah,
So
totally.
what's the number they can reach you at?
402-860-1483.
1483. Great. I will let them know to contact you guys and talk to you about it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Way to go. Did an outstanding job, public speaking there. That was really impressive. You might have to run for something someday. Very impressive. 9,000 teams. That's a lot to go and compete against and bring home come home like with that in your hand. That was pretty impressive, so. Now we're on to the fun part of the meeting, the regular agenda. Item number 9 has been moved. Let me find it here quick. Consideration of Resolution 2025-18 approving an interlocal agreement with Stanton Rural Fire District to provide emergency medical services to the city of Stanton. And Tim is here, Chief is here. He'll come and speak on this.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-18.
Motion a second. Discussion, so.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come up and speak to you about this topic. It's definitely one that gets people's attention, and rightfully so. I'd like to first go on record as stating we have a great relationship with Stanton Fire and Rescue and all their first responders, much the same as all of our volunteer partners in the neighboring communities. They help us, we help them, and we have great relationships there, so I just wanted to make sure I get that said in the very beginning. This is as a result of an increase in our mutual aid calls for ambulance service to Stanton over the last few years. It's something we've had our eyes on going back a couple different chiefs, including City Administrator Cordes, and we try to pay attention and find balance with how often we're going to different communities for mutual aid, and hoping that it's in the confines of our Elkhorn Valley Mutual Aid Agreement, which we have with 11 different communities around Norfolk. That particular agreement that is being renewed currently states that we shall provide fire and EMS services to one another should we need it. However, that was kind of for few and far between calls, half dozen calls a year type of stuff. As the Stanton calls started to go up, particularly the hours of 9 to 5, normal operating hours where folks are at work and not able to leave, we started to see that trend upward in 2023. So we ran around 40 calls, 23, and then that went up to around 62 calls in 2024, and we're right at about 27 as of this morning. So that increase was a little bit of pause for concern. We've had several meetings with the folks over there in Stanton, the responders, about potential solutions. And right now, we just haven't got to something that seems workable. And for us, it's just not financially feasible for us to sustain what we were doing right now without having a separate agreement in place that would create revenues to offset the cost of the staff and resources we're sending down the road that many times a year. We didn't reinvent the wheel on this. This is an agreement that we actually, I'd been talking a lot to the fire chief in Columbus. They had a similar agreement with a neighboring community. And that agreement was a similar term, a 6-month term. There was a calculation that we used to get to the number we got to. And it ended up ultimately working for that relationship there. That community ended up getting an ambulance service up and running. And now Columbus is back to just going on advanced life support, intercept calls, or specialty rescue type things. And that's the hope for this agreement. So we spent time meeting with, again, their first responders, their Rural Fire Protection District, the City of Stanton elected officials over the last couple weeks. Lyle went with me to meet with the rural fire folks, and they did not request our attendance at the city council meeting, and both of those governing bodies approved and adopted a resolution to basically enact this contract that we have, which is a 6-month term that could be extended should it need to be, but that is not our intent or desire. The desire is for them to be able to find a solution to service their area predominantly. That results in quicker response times for the citizens in Stanton and the surrounding community, and that's ultimately what we want. People call 911. We want them there as soon as possible, just like the other small towns around. So we will do our best to help them get there, but in the meantime, this will help cover things like, again, the responders we're sending down the road, the responders we're having to call in for backfill. This does not make us vulnerable. Here in City Norfolk, this contract specifically says that handling of these calls comes down to the commanding officer on duty for the day, the assistant chief, or myself. So if resources are unavailable, we simply have to turn down the call. If a more serious call comes in and we need to redirect resources, we have the capability of doing that, and Stanton is well aware of those terms. So with that being said, I would entertain any questions you might have.
Chief, how many calls right now would you say then Stanton is basically reciprocating? I mean, if we're doing like 40 to them, how many do we do for, the opposite way? How many do they help us with?
The EMS medical calls, I would say, slim to none. Where we see, and this is for most all of our mutual aid partners, where we see the biggest assistance from them is on fires. We call Stanton regularly when it comes to grass fires. We had a few over the last year that were significant where we leaned on Stanton, and they had a very strong complement of firefighters and EMTs for that matter, because those happened at times of day where they happened to be around, whether it was a weekend, after 5. Some of the successes that you see in smaller communities right now being able to handle their medical calls would be retirees, people that are retired that are handling these medical calls, employers that are routinely allowing their employers to leave. Those are the main things right now that you're seeing that are allowing them, or people that are working rotating shifts that are maybe home 1 out of 3 days or 2 out of 3 days. So that formula works in a lot of communities, but it's just not working right now in Stanton because it's not available. So,
In terms of the cost, Chief, and I know that it's kind of all built into our budget already, but if we just broke out the cost of doing that, what percentage of that are they covering in terms of a call versus, do they cover, does the formula give us 75% of our cost of that, or what is the, because there's tons of things, there's depreciation of our vehicles, yada, 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 so just curious.
yeah, it's a great question. So this is above any bill that the patient would receive. So we would still bill the patient accordingly for whatever rate of service that we provide that's in the ordinance for our fee structure. In addition to that, what we did is took a FEMA or Federal Emergency Management rate for an ambulance, an hourly rate for an ambulance. We can't bill for EMS supplies because we already bill that for the patient. And then we took on-duty responders, 3, because we usually send a minimum of 3 down the road. 1 driver in town, there's times we send 2, but if we go in the rural or outside, we have to send 3 because of the unknown and we're too far away. So we factored in 2 different categories for 3 responders. We went the highest possible firefighter paramedic rate we have and the lowest. We also figured in 3 off-duty personnel that are coming back in potentially to fill those slots as needed at a time and a half rate. So that gave us a range an average cost of around $900. So by trying to estimate what the budget could look like next year, we landed at 1,000. That's $5,000 a month. We basically took 60 calls divided by 12, gives us 5 a month. That's how we got 5,000 a month for right now. If those calls would soar for whatever reason, which I don't expect them to, because I don't think anything's going to change with Stanton trying to do the best they can. They've proven that they are trying to do that. It's just there's been some calls they can't respond to. If those calls were to soar and go to 80 a year, we do have a termination clause that's built in. Danny and her team were excellent to work with on this. That allows us to back out of this and either renegotiate or cease providing service.
So we don't have, so it's 5, whether they do 3 or they do 10, it's
Yes.
5 a month, okay.
Yes, and I think the way it reads, they, if approved tonight, they've already kind of got this in works on their end. They would pay the first 3 months, prorate the remainder of May, and then that would be due up front. And then at the end of that 3 month, they'd pay the next 3 months. And then at the end of the 6 months is when we have a meeting 30 days ahead of the expiration of the contract and decide what we're going to do. So, all right. Any other questions?
Thanks for putting that together.
You betcha.
I know you put a lot of work into that.
No problem.
All right, any other discussion? Any members of the public want to have any input on this? All right, see none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, Resolution 2025-18 is adopted.
Okay, on to item number 11, consideration of approval of an amendment with Fantasy Drone Shows LLC of Nebraska Limited Liability Company and J&M Display, Inc. of Iowa Corporation to hold a Fantasy Fest event at Skyview Park, including but not limited to live music, inflatables, cornhole tournament, games and activities, a drone show, food, vendors, a fundraiser, and fireworks display utilizing, 1.4G consumer fireworks only on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025.
I'll offer for consideration the approval of the agreement with Fantasy Drone Shows.
Okay, we have a motion to second. Don will lead us on discussion.
Thanks, guys. The reason this was pulled off the agenda, off the consent agenda, is for 2 reasons. Number one, we didn't originally put a rain date in here. Why? Because my world revolves around a rain date. But we are moving this event to, instead of Tuesday night, tomorrow night, to Wednesday night, because the weather looks tomorrow night kind of like it does tonight. So the other reason is removing J&M Displays off of this contract completely. They've got nothing to do with this. Originally, we were going to use some bigger fireworks like we do out at Boom, but we decided to tune it down because it's all coming out of my pocket and I can't afford that much. But we are going to do a little bit of fireworks. But it's all going to be 1.4G, which is consumer product that you and I can buy and shoot in our backyards with our kids. But I want to thank the city and especially PJ Evans with the Parks and Recs department here. I've been working with her for the last month or 2 on this event. She's been great to work with. City's been very accommodating on this. So we're just happy that we're doing this. We're hoping that this maybe turns into an annual event. This is going to be kind of cool for the community. We're going to use 650 drones. 35 of these drones are going to have pyrotechnics on them. We're one of the only companies in the United States that are allowed to put pyro on drones because of the authorizations that we have. We would have liked to actually move this to Thursday because the weather's going to be better, but our authorization was only for Tuesday and Wednesday, and the FAA doesn't like you changing something at the last minute for some reason. So we'll just go with that. But there is a lot of things going on. I want to invite all you guys and all your families and friends and everybody in Norfolk to come out to this. It'll be special. Nobody gets to see this type of a show typically, unless you're a pretty good sized community or something big. This is a lot of drones, but we're going to have, this is from 6 to 10, and there's going to be quite a few events going on. There is a cornhole tournament planned. There's food trucks going to be out there. Bounce houses for the kids. The Taps Dance Studio is going to do a couple performances. Can Amon, who was Amon, which was actually on not America's Got, America's Got Talent, is that what it was? He's gonna come out and sing at 6:30. Boundless goes on stage at 8, and our drone show's gonna be at 9:30, so. And this is also a fundraiser, so everybody's aware of it, for the K-9 unit, for the Madison County K-9 unit. So this is a free event to the public, but we are going to do a little fundraising for the K-9 unit for Madison County. They'll have a little booth set up there that folks can go and throw a couple bucks at to try and help those guys get a K-9 unit. So I'd entertain any questions if anybody has any, but I really want to invite everybody and thank the city and especially PJ and the Parks and Recs Department to working with us as close as they have been to bring another event to Norfolk.
So, so you've got a drone basically, and you said what were you attaching the drone that you guys are the only ones able to do that?
Pyrotechnics,
Whoa.
fireworks.
Oh, wow. Well, that's the price of admissions right there to go see that.
It will be.
That'll be amazing, yeah.
We have about 100 devices that'll be in the air going off of drones, different effects throughout it. I'm not gonna spoil it, this is gonna be pretty cool. The scenes that are being in the sky and what they're gonna do is gonna be pretty cool. So,
Wiz, what time's the show start, like the actual drone show gonna start?
drone show's scheduled for 9:30.
9:30.
I don't know if I have a question for you, Don, or maybe Nate more. But is this something that is coming out, any part of it out of the city budget or not? Nate, could you? I've had some emails and some calls today asking me that, and I said, I don't know the answer. I will find out.
Hi, I can answer that question. We are funding the band, but we are receiving back 10% of all the food truck vendors and 10% of the wristbands sold for the bounce houses.
Okay. So it was not in our budget, but we're planning to make that up.
It's just
through the-
coming, that's correct. It's just coming out of my rec budget.
Okay.
To clarify, it's the rec budget, and that is, generally funded through revenues through our programming.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Nate. Thank you.
Thanks again, guys.
Thanks. All right, any other discussion?
Yep, so what I will need first is a motion to amend the agreement by changing the date of the event to Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, and removing J&M Displays, Inc. as a party to the agreement and eliminating any references to them therein.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any discussion from the public? All right, seeing none, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries. Now we will go back and vote on the original item as amended. And we have, yep, and we have a motion and a second on the original item on the table. So now we just need a vote. All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Okay, on to item number 23, I believe, right? Yes, consideration of approval of the request from Discount Dumpster LLC to operate a garbage hauling service in Norfolk.
I'll make a motion for consideration of approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second, discussion. Steve, we'll be directing this towards you.
Yeah, council, section 10 of city code, or chapter 10 of city code is our solid waste code or garbage code. Section 21 of that code specifies that permits are to be approved by city council. What's before you is a commercial dumpster a roll-off dumpster permit for discount dumpsters. Discount dumpsters, reasonably new to the community. They do generally construction-related work, and so they've requested a roll-off permit for that service. And there is a representative here from Discount Dumpsters.
So Steve, this wouldn't be curbside pickup or commercial, this is
This
strictly
is
just
not,
roll-off?
yeah, this is not curbside. And what'll happen tonight, because they can walk in and request a permit application from staff, the way it's structured is they fill out the permit request.
There's a section at the top of the permit where they request the type of service they would like to be approved for. Pending the conversation tonight and council approval, a response will be sent back to them indicating whether the permit was denied or approved, and if approved, specifically what was approved. Commercial, roll-off, residential, and then that'll be signed off on by the clerk. So as a function of the conversation, you can deny it, you can approve it as submitted, or you can approve it with modifications.
Thanks.
Seeing the permit, it doesn't have anything checked on curbside or commercial or roll-off, so will that be up to you, Kylie, to mark that one if that's what's approved?
Yep, so
Okay.
what I'll need is clarification on what you want permitted.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they've requested roll-off.
Okay.
Is there someone here that can speak to that?
Good evening, Kelby Herman, owner of Discount Dumpster. Brief history, I was started about 6 years ago in Beamer, Nebraska, and we provide roll-off construction dumpster service from Columbus, Fremont, Norfolk, north up to Yankton. So we had been requested to get a permit in Norfolk. We have a permit in Fremont and Columbus and other larger communities that require it. So we don't do any curbside, just roll-off service geared toward construction and industrial type customers.
So how long have you been operating in Norfolk?
Probably a year and a half.
So you said you operate in Columbus as well?
Yep.
So what is the process for Columbus for you to get your permit there?
I'm not familiar with Columbus as much as I am with Fremont. Fremont has a similar application process. I don't recall that Fremont had a vote at the city council. I don't recall going to a meeting in Fremont for that, but I know they do have an application and a fee, and then they do require that the hauler be bonded and provide a bond. I believe it's maybe a $5,000 bond. It's not significant, but just in case of damage or whatnot. And then they do require licensing of the different trucks that they take a look at annually.
So you've been operating here for 6 months without a permit. Why is that?
I would say I've been operating in Norfolk longer than that without a permit.
And why is that?
I didn't realize a permit was required.
So you did not check with the city?
Correct.
Even though you've had many dealings with the city in
Yep.
other aspects?
Yep. I think there's other garbage services here that had the same issue that had operated in Norfolk without a permit in the past. So that we weren't, I wasn't aware that there was one. So I apologize if that was incorrect, but it was brought to my attention by the gentleman that runs the transfer station, and I think with a couple other haulers that needed to address that, so.
I guess I just find it a little strange that you didn't check with the city since you're operating in other places and you started in Beamer.
Okay, that's fine.
I guess I just,
I understand your concern.
You know, I guess I see where Sue's coming from, but thank you for wanting to right your wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in front of us to right your wrong.
I apologize if, I mean, I didn't know that Norfolk had a permit process, so. Until it was brought to my attention 2 months ago by solid waste disposal team and Mr. Ramus, so.
Want to speak upon that at all, or?
No, I would say that that's a pretty fair statement. You know, I was unaware. I think solid waste staff must have been unaware, or, at some point asked you about whether or not you were permitted for that service, and when they discovered he was not permitted, they directed him to get permitted. We have, just a little bit on solid waste, not to go too deep there. We have been working for about 5 years on a solid waste code update. There are several sections of the code that are a little outdated. Specifically, currently, there's no term to the permit. There's no set fee for the permit. So we are looking to do some, and there's some sections in code that are just completely outdated. So we are working on that, and we have had a council subcommittee meeting around that, and would be bringing that code rewrite forward shortly. Any other questions?
Any other questions for me?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Discussion from the public? All right, seeing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
All right, on to item number 24, consideration approval of request from S2 Roll-Offs LLC to operate a garbage hauling service in Norfolk.
I'll make a motion for consideration of approval.
Second.
Okay, motion a second. Discussion, again, will be directed towards Steve.
Mayor and council, similar situation here recently. I think S2 came into town and started providing service. They were notified that they needed to have a permit. They have submitted a permit request here for residential curbside collection, commercial collection, as well as roll-off. They have been, in terms of working with them on the permit application, there have been both phone calls as well as emails to notify them that at this time, based again on subcommittee conversation, we were not issuing a curbside permits. They have requested that, but just so that you're aware that we did communicate to them that we are not currently issuing those, or I would not expect council to be approving any additional curbside collection at this time. So, any questions? I believe there are
I see.
S2, yeah.
Could you come forward, please?
Hi, my name is Canyon Ferris. I'm the sales manager here for S2. A little bit about us, similar to him. We're a locally owned trash company based out of Fremont. We started back in 2007 just as a roll-off company. 2009 started doing residential and commercial trash services. There was a need for it in the area there. 2019 started doing portable restrooms. We branched out from Fremont. We service Wahoo, Waterloo, Omaha, all the surrounding areas, as well as we started moving north now. Just recently moved into the town of Wayne, took over town of Laurel, Pender, a few of those for residential, commercial, trash services, and kind of saw there's maybe a need or a opening here in Norfolk, and here we are. So similar situation to Kirby over there. We did not realize there's necessarily a permit process that we need to follow. So again, we apologize for that. Hopefully we're making things right to right that wrong and be good standing with the city of Norfolk here. So.
How long have you been operating here without a permit?
Probably close to a year as well. Well, there's some customers that are also based out of Omaha that are based in here as well. Same thing with Wayne. So we've done some work here. As far as how long, I do not 100% know that answer, but probably I'd say close to a year.
So what is the process? You said you started in Fremont?
Yes.
So what is the process for Fremont?
Same thing as I was mentioned earlier. It's the bond. You got to have the bond, certificate of insurance. You got to regulate what trucks you have on the roads. You have to send them all their licensing for those as well. So really, yeah, it's a lot of process for that.
So you didn't think about asking the city if they have a process for that? Or
At the time, we did not. Nope, that was hindsight, and looking forward, we will do that in all new towns we go to.
I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. So learning lesson.
Thank you.
Do you offer residential curbside currently?
In
to some
Norfolk, we do
customers?
not. Nope. Just, it's hard. There's already, like I said, there's a lot of haulers here already. It's kind of hard for us to move into a new territory and just start with one can at a time, so it's not very feasible for us. We do have commercial trash customers here already, and we do have some roll-off customers here as well, and portable restroom customers.
With you being in these different communities, where are you taking all of this?
Usually, most trash is try to go to the city transfer stations within city limits. That's where that goes. Anything outside the city transfer stations just goes to the local landfill, the closest one. So as far as the names of them around here, I do not officially know that answer. My operations guy does, and he's much more knowledgeable in that than I am. I'll be 100% honest. But usually, a lot of that goes to the city transfer station, which is then taken to the landfills.
I guess my question surrounds, do you know where the transfer station is for what communities you're providing your service in? So if you're in Laurel, bringing it to the one down by Clarkson probably isn't the correct location to bring it. But if you're in Fremont, you have different areas depending on where you're working.
Yep.
And I want to make sure that it's not all going to, say, one location.
No, it's for us not feasible to drive a truck from, say, Norfolk all the way down to Fremont. Doesn't make sense for us to haul trash that far. So
No, but it is if you're stationed in Norfolk and you're going to Laurel and coming back to Norfolk.
yes,
That's
correct.
why I'm asking.
Yep, no, absolutely. So no, it goes to the most local one. So everything inside Norfolk should go to the transfer station here, and vice versa.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, would commercial be considered just dumpster?
That'd be
Commercial is, the larger square dumpsters, yes.
like you tend to see behind businesses, the square 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 6 yards that are generally there.
My concern, I've never spoken in front of council about this or the public. I would like to see, just doing research and I live in Kenningstein, and in our neighborhood, we have like 3 or 4 different trash trucks that show up for just 3 or 4 houses that's in our neighborhood. So I was telling Steve, to me, it's like, why can't we put an RFP out for a trash service? And I've seen communities do this throughout the country, and it almost cuts their bill in half. And then we end up gaining a partner in waste reduction. So right now, everyone's incentivized by creating more waste because they get paid for it. So that my proposal is that curbside, commercial, we don't expand that conversation to open it up to anyone else. And if you want to do roll-offs, super, but I would just hope that we don't expand the conversation. So if we ever do go to make a move, we don't have all these companies dependent on revenue for the city of Norfolk to create revenue for their business. And then we want to put an RFP for maybe 1 or 2 carriers. So that's just my thoughts.
Well, on this application, it does check residential curbside.
Yeah, I would.
So are we allowing that then with S2?
No. So again, when they come in and fill out a permit, we as staff can't say we are not issuing. That's a council decision as to whether or not to issue it. So they can check whatever they want to check. It's an open discussion as to whether or not you want to issue that permit. If you don't issue the permit, then when the permit gets issued, it'll be issued as whatever you pass tonight. Roll-off only, roll-off and commercial, or roll-off commercial and residential.
So if we vote yes on this, we're approving residential curbside.
You would vote yes to approve, and in your motion, roll-off, waste, you'd need to specify what you're approving.
Okay.
And then to address Councilman Webb's point, we are discussing that in infrastructure subcommittee right now. It's a big topic for us to figure out what our next steps are. So that's part of the process that we're in the process of putting something together. It could take a while, but we're addressing your concerns wholly. So just so you know.
Do you guys offer any recycling even in your other communities, or just hauling waste?
Nope, we do offer recycling in other communities. The problem with this area of the country currently, as you guys also know, that cardboard since went away, there's nowhere really here to take it to. So it's not green or sustainable to really drive it anywhere. So for us, let's use the town of Wayne for example. Waste Connections has a transfer station there, and they have recycling. Well, they do not let us dump our recycling there, so we had to drive recycling 100 miles to Omaha to First Star Fiber Recycling. And the next closest one would be Sioux City. That takes single stream. There's some local guys that take just single streams where you just throw all your recycling in one bin. It goes to a sorting facility, it's sorted out. So those in that area that are able to handle the mass that we would produce, such like a town of Norfolk. But there's some talks with some customer of ours where we can maybe make something happen at a future date. But as right now in this area, we do not offer recycling.
And that's kind of my point, Corey, is we don't have anyone come to the table to offer waste reduction, to lower rates. It's, you know, we're offering the customer to them, we're offering the infrastructure to, as in the transfer station, and we need to make sure we're getting the most back for our return as far as waste reduction and rates for our customers and our citizens. And I feel like if we expand this conversation, there's gonna be more people upset when we make a decision. And that's my concern.
Right, any other discussion?
Well, I guess a point to that though, you know, because these people right now are doing this hauling in town. They're providing the roll-offs, they're providing, you guys are providing some commercial. None of them are providing residential curbside, and that was really the biggest sticking point for the current situation right now is, okay, we really don't want to allow residential curbside as we work on this, RFP or on this policy change that may be coming about through the city. So, you know, I would be inclined to, as one before that, ask for a roll-off. I don't really have too much problem with roll-off and commercial. I do not want to see additional trucks running in residential areas. It just totally destroys our streets. And I've said that for probably 2 decades. The the garbage haulers are probably the leading cause for a lot of, right or wrong, that's just, I mean, you get a lot of heavy loads, so.
But you say right now you're mainly doing commercial.
Yes, we do 0 residential in Norfolk.
So Steve, how can we, or Kylie, can we make an amendment to this application? I'll make a motion that we amend the application, for S2 garbage haulers, to allow commercial pickup and exclude residential, offer commercial and roll-off and exclude residential curbside.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Okay, any discussion from the public?
I want to thank you for your time. Been a resident of Norfolk for 31 years. I want to commend you. I have a trash truck go up and down my side street at least 15 times in a 2-week period providing service. And it is the #1 killer of our streets. And this city is looking to do street improvements the next 1 to 6 years. Why would we want to add more truck traffic, especially trash trucks, where studies will show you they deteriorate your road system out of any other vehicle, truck in your community. So I understand we're going commercial with them as well, but how many more commercial businesses are we going to bring another trash hauler into this community to circle our streets?
Did you happen to state your name?
I'm
unless I
Diane
missed-
Morse.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, sorry about that.
I will have to say, just these items being on the agenda for getting permits has led to discussion. And so even though they are on the agenda right now and they're asking for the permits, it's led to a lot of good discussion among staff and council subcommittee. So we are looking at addressing those same concerns that you have, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and everyone. I'm David Jansma, and you said that you're not issuing residential permits for trash hauling at this time?
Correct, that's at the discretion of the city
So-
council.
All right, hang on, but didn't we recently have one get absorbed into another trash hauler? They were bought
did.
out apparently.
Yeah,
How
we-
I know, because I got the letter and I had to change. So that leaves, we lost one, why can't we add one?
Again, council approves the permits.
Did not, you not say that you weren't issuing permits for residential or you didn't want to do any more? Or am I incorrect in that assumption?
You are correct that council has indicated to staff that they are not wanting to issue curbside pickup permits.
Did we lose a trash
Yes.
hauler that was bought
Yes.
out by another company?
Yes, Dofides was bought out by Waste Connections.
How does that process take place, Steve?
So-
Do they just get absorbed and they run under their permit then, or how is that? I think maybe that's
Under
what,
current city code, there's no language around the transfer of the permit. So current city code would appear to allow transfer of the permit.
Okay. So we lost one service. We could replace it with another. Because that's the same amount of trucks now. And I recently got a letter from them saying they're going to change the date they pick up all the service after 45 years. So, but I just, whatever. But I want to see businesses come and grow, so do you guys. And if we lost a business because it absorbed in the other, that truck's not coming down the roads. So that's one less. Just something to think about, guys and ladies.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, please vote.
We are currently voting on the amendment.
Right.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries. And now we will go back to the original motion for S2's permit.
All right, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Right, item number 25, consideration of approval of the request from Selco LLC to operate a garbage hauling service in Norfolk.
Make a motion for consideration of approval.
All right, Steve, again, we'll be directing the discussion towards you.
Yeah, council, this is a third hauler that was identified recently as not having a permit. This is Selco LLC. They operate strictly roll-offs, similar to the first one, item 23. So they have a permit in front of you, again, through Selco LLC, a permit for roll-off.
is there someone here from Selco or not?
Does not appear to be anybody from Selco.
How long have they been operating here, Steve? Do you know?
I don't know specifically. I know they have been operating for a period of time. I would say, I don't know. Anything would be, just be a guess, but they've been operating here for a period of time. I'd say not more than a year. I'm thinking less than 6 months.
Okay, okay. Kind of hard with nobody here to, because I would
Yeah.
have gone through the same spiel with all of them just to lay it out on the table. I just don't want people to honestly think they can come into Norfolk and start operating a business without going through the proper city channels, if there's a permit to be
Correct.
obtained or a bond, to make sure that that happens. I
Yeah,
just. I
and we
want-
are gonna add a sign out there at the transfer station so that people know, so we can provide a sign notification. And again, currently, we are having some conversation on a new code rewrite. The intention of the new code rewrite, all the hauling units will be placarded so that staff knows, yes, they've been, they've come in, they've paid their fees, and they're a placard permitted licensed hauler.
That's a great idea, yeah. Thank you.
Right, any other discussion? Discussion from the public? Right, seeing none, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Right, on item number 26.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I just want to publicly note, thank you to our transfer people for noting these things happening and taking care of it with us. I just want to thank them personally for all their work and being aware of that.
Good point. Item number 26, consideration of approval to award a contract with Rutchins Construction, Inc. of Tilden, Nebraska for the Water and Sewer Improvements 2025-1 project for an amount of $1,036,144.
I'll offer consideration of, to award a contract to Rutchins Construction.
Second.
We have a motion second? All right, Chad? We lead in discussion on this.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. In front of you here is the contract that we received on May 9th, 2025 for the water improvements on 37th Street. We did receive only one bid on this opening, and as they stated, that bid was for $1,036,144. Our engineer estimate for this project was $1,191,517. And this project consists of about 6 different items. The first one is going to be the Water District 130. This is going to be on 37th Street and Prospect Avenue. Water District 120 or 132, which is on Mach 1. And then there's going to be a water improvement on 29th and Kenningstein. A water main extension on 37th Street. So the first water project is going to end about 610 North 37th Street. Then from that point, we're extending that all the way up to Benjamin Avenue. So that'd be the 37th Street water main extension. We also have the Sewer District 256, that'll be on 37th and Prospect Avenue, and then the Sewer District on Mach 1. So quite a bit going on in that little area there, but there's some development going on up there, and also these are improvements that were notified in both the water and sewer master plans. So with the engineer's estimate and the city recommendation here, we recommend approving the contract with Rutchins Engineering, or Rutchins Construction, excuse me, for the amount of $1,036,144. Any questions?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Anybody from the audience like to comment? Right. Seeing no further comments, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Right. Item number 27, consideration approval of amendment number 3 to the engineering services contract with Black & Veatch Corporation for engineering service during construction of the collector well 14 and well 14 discharge pipeline project for an amount not to exceed $650,835.
I'll offer for consideration the approval of amendment number 3.
Sorry, Chad will come back up again.
Okay, this one here is for amendment number 3 of the original contract that was signed with Black & Veatch on January 17, 2023. That contract there, if you guys remember, was for us to start moving forward with the well development and the wastewater treatment plant improvements. Then on August 19, 2024, we have had an amendment number 1 to that contract, and that was for breaking the 2 million gallon tank out of the overall project to go up with a separate bid leading on that one. Amendment number 2, which was awarded on December 16, 2024, that was for the construction services of the 2 million gallon reservoir, and that one was in the amount of $295,106. And what we got in front of you today is amendment number 3, which is to provide the construction services for the well 14 and the raw water pipeline. This one here, we had one first original proposal from Black & Veatch for the construction services. They came back at an amount of $982,882. So just a little under $1 million. City staff went back, worked with Black & Veatch, and we got this proposal that we have in front of you today. This proposal is for Black & Veatch to do the administration services of the project, and then Olson's Associates will provide the field services, and then also the representation on the project. So by doing this, by splitting this up like that, we were able to bring that down to $650,835. So a reduction of $332,000. So
This includes the work from Olson too?
Yes, yes, this includes Olson's part of the project also, yes. So going into these projects, we had estimated to have roughly $1.5 million for construction services for the complete project. And right now, we are sitting about $945,000, so we're well under that $1.5 million by using the city staff resources and also going back and looking at the contracts and making sure we get what we're looking for. Any questions?
I would just point out, because we've been questioned in the past on the use of Olson's, we received two proposals from Black and Veatch for local consultants. One was with JEO and one was with Olson's. And there was about a $75,000 difference there. Olson's was less, so that's why we selected Olson's.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I will say, besides police and fire, we need water and sewer, so it's not something that you can very well turn your head against, so.
And you guys do a very good job of supporting us, so thank you.
Well done, Chad, thank you.
Right, any other discussion, from the public?
Jim McKenzie. I just wanted to talk a little bit about this. Originally, the proposal, it was stated, was $982,000. It was dropped to $650,000, which is a decrease of $332,000. I realize this is listed as an amendment, but I believe it's even more evidence that we really need to look at bidding out these engineering contracts to ensure the city's getting a competitive bid and the taxpayers are not overpaying for engineering services. Is it time to bring on more engineering staff? When you capitalize, I assume this is capitalized? When you capitalize engineering services, you're paying for it over 20 years and paying interest on top of it. So if you capitalize $650,000 over 20 years at 5 or 6%, you effectively increase that engineering work that the citizens pay for to well over $1 million. Is it time to look at bringing on additional engineering services, additional engineering staff, and trying to reduce these engineering contracts? We continue to spend millions and millions of dollars that we capitalize and pay interest on. I just think it's time to take a look at that. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion?
Can you speak on that, Steve? What your thoughts are on that?
I would say it's something we can certainly look at. There's some of these, we're in a place right now where we have a lot going on water and sewer. It's a bubble, and we'll get through that bubble with this project and the projects going on at the sewer plant. And so it's a matter of balancing kind of what's your base load and what's your peak load from an engineering perspective, and where do you want to staff within that load. And, we can certainly prepare some information about that base load, peak load, look at our 10-year capital project list across water and sewer and streets. And we can provide some conversation back on that, yeah.
It's good timing for that conversation, because obviously we'll be going over the budget here the next month, so it's good timing for that.
Steve, do you feel like your department is understaffed?
We have been understaffed just as a function of it's tough to recruit.
Steve, be careful how you answer that. Anna's looking at you.
Is she? I'm sure she will. No question in my mind she'll agree.
I'm sorry, Anna, I should have asked you first.
We've been understaffed as a function of all the project activity that's been going on. It's been a tough time to recruit. We compete against the consulting market. And so we've rethought a little bit about how we're recruiting, but I anticipate we'll have all slots full here shortly. And so, we kind of want to see how that workload gets redistributed with a full staff. But so it's hard to say today whether we are or we aren't. We are, like I said, we are in a peak workload right now. But, it is, again, it comes down to the question of where's our base load, what's our peak load, and where do we want to staff in between that? So, again, we can look at that information and bring a conversation to council. And we do look at that every year as we're evaluating and looking at budgets. It's just been tough. It's a tough time to hire, It doesn't seem like it matters what profession you're in. If you're accounting, it's hard to find staff. If you're engineering, it's hard to find staff, so. That.
We had some really good young
Yeah,
people
we
here
did.
tonight that would.
We have some very impressive.
That might
folks
make some
in
good
the audience,
engineers, so.
Hope maybe we can.
And they're still
convince
here. They stuck around for the full meeting too, so.
But I appreciate the question and the conversation.
All right, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
So we'll be going into closed session. May I have a motion to go into closed session for the protection of public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual who has not requested a public meeting to hold a strategic session in respect to the future of the airport authority, as well as a pending litigation and potential imminent litigation?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion
I can't.
The only items discussed during the closed session were for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual who has not requested a public meeting to hold a strategic session with respect for the future of the airport authority, as well as pending litigation and potentially imminent litigation. May I have a motion to come out of closed session?
Second.
Please vote.
All council members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
We are adjourned.